Hey guys, and welcome to Trash with a Capital T. I'm your host Bobby, and here we talk about all the trashy books, movies, and everything else, and give them the love they deserve. Okay, so today we're breaking away. We did a bunch of YA and teen books, so we're going to jump into a different realm, specifically mystery, with Uketsu's Strange Pictures. It's a Japanese novel that was translated by Jim Rion, and this was a fun little book. Now, I've had some people describe this book as disturbing. I didn't really find it that way. It's also kind of described as a horror novel. It's not a horror novel. This is a true blue investigative mystery. What we have here, and I would recommend if you're going to do this, do a physical book, even over the ebook, because the way this works is you have four stories, you have four investigations. They all revolve around a series of images. I will show you one of them. And this is why I think it's important to have the physical book, because these images are in the book. And not only are they in the book, they are then broken down and analyzed throughout the book. So you have multiple books, multiple pages, multiple drawings, always popping up throughout the book. And then you also have diagrams. So they'll be explaining people's timelines, stuff like that. There is a lot of visual input that is in the book that is nice to have, so you can like flip back and reference it. If you do the audiobook, there is an audiobook for this. It does come with a PDF that has the imagery, so it won't be an audiobook where you just pop it on and go, because it's one where you do have to actually reference the images. That's part of solving the mysteries, and that's actually one of the reasons I enjoy this book, is because you can, with the people who are investigating these mysteries, use the evidence that is presented and kind of solve the mystery yourself. There are a few twists that the author keeps from the reader until the right moment. There's a few reveals. But overall, this is a mystery where you can work with the characters and actually figure it out yourself. I enjoy the hell out of that. If I'm reading a mystery, I want to be able to solve it with the people who are solving it in the book. I don't want to have some big twist at the end that I was never made aware of, and suddenly the killer is like someone who was never part of the story. That is not the case here. This is not a fast-paced book. Now, I read it very quickly. It does read very quickly because it's a dialogue-heavy book. But the pacing is fairly slow, because what you're getting, instead of getting like a bunch of murders and action, you're getting people looking back on past cases, analyzing them, and kind of breaking down the evidence that they have available to them. And there are parts of this book where there's some action that's not all just talking, but it is definitely, you are investigating with the characters. You have various characters. You kind of switch perspectives as you go through the four stories. They're not all told from the same perspective or from the same characters. You kind of move around, and the connections between the stories are revealed very slowly throughout the book. I will say this. The author of this one is a very interesting individual. I do not know if it is a man or a woman, nor does it really matter. They are actually a YouTube celebrity. They do very abstract, interesting. I've watched a few of their videos. I got to show you who this person is. So, no. Author photo is on the next page. Here we go. This is the author, Uketsu. And you can actually find some of their videos on YouTube in English. This book was originally done in Japanese. And not all of Uketsu's videos are translated. Some of them are still in Japanese. Although I will say, I don't even know how important the audio is. There's some very interesting visuals, but you kind of get the same feel with this. The writing itself is fairly simple and straightforward. This is not a complex plot. It's very economical writing, which I appreciate, especially with mystery, where you need to keep the reader engaged. You need to keep things moving. Ira Levin was a pro at this. And I see the same kind of writing here. I've read some reviews where people complain about that. For something like this, where it could very easily get bogged down, I prefer more economical writing. You don't get a lot of descriptions unless they're needed. Everything that is there for a reason. There's no pretty turns of phrase. This is straightforward, like almost journalistic style writing. It's very, very straightforward. I love that. And like I said, this does move quick. I read this book in 2 days, and that's only because made myself take a break. So I read the first two stories, and because it is very nicely broken up with the different stories. Each they're marked as chapters, but they kind of work as separate stories because you do get a nice payoff at the end of each one of these, and then obviously the final story does the reveal for everything. And I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil this. If you are interested in this book, there is a second book out by the author called Strange Houses. I'm actually reading the manga series, The Strange House, which is based off of this. And I'm holding off on reading Strange Houses because I don't want the manga series spoiled. I'm actually enjoying it. But it's very similar to this. The main difference is that one is done in manga format. But it's a very investigative, and you have a lot of speculation and characters kind of taking what they have and developing narratives around it to try and solve these mysteries. And that's kind of one of the most fun kind. It feels almost interactive. I remember when I was finishing this, my husband was like, well, do you think I'll like it? I'm like, yeah, I think you'll enjoy the hell out of this. Because it almost feels like a beginner's book before you get into something that is that is way more complex, like say House of Leaves. This is something where you have to interact with the book because you have to go through and break down the clues with the characters. And you can kind of, if you can, like they even have like diagrams of like floor plans, stuff like that. Like it's very interesting that he or she, the author, gives us all of these pieces so that we can be active participants in the investigation. Highly recommend this one. I think I gave this one 4 stars. Yeah, I did. The only reason I didn't get this 5, the ending for me drags. That last chapter drags a little because that's the chapter with the big reveals where we have to go through. Sorry, my beard keeps trying to go into my nose, my mustache. It's very annoying. But it is the chapter where we kind of get like the big reveals and how everything played out. So we go through and get a whole history of our suspects and some other characters. And while the author avoids doing too much repetition, there is some stuff in there that you, as the reader, probably already inferred or figured out, and you don't really need that, so it felt kind of draggy for me. The rest of the book actually moves pretty quickly, especially the second and third chapters. Those definitely have the most active participants. You have characters who are really pushing to find answers, so they're being a little more involved. The first chapter we have that it's just 2 college students reading a blog, and we get the blog entries, but we don't get a lot of like forward momentum. They're just working with the little bit of information that they have. The fourth chapter, like I said, is the recap, and we kind of get everything tied up. It does have a very solid tied up ending. So you're not going to get a whole lot of loose ends here. I was actually pretty impressed. This plot tied up pretty nicely. There's no major plot holes or anything. So for that, yeah, I recommend this one. And it's really a good beginner Japanese mystery. This one also helps because when you change perspectives, there's a lot of characters in here, so they at least let you know whose perspective you're in. But I will say, there's a couple times where I'm like, wait, is this the same character as the one before? So I'd be flipping back and forth because there's such a large cast, and you kind of lose people, gain people as you move around. So that was one thing that I had to keep track of the characters. That's another reason I probably didn't give it 5 stars. But I did enjoy this a lot, and I highly recommend it. It's a very fun, interactive book. Not for the kiddos, but, older teens, anything like that, it's totally fine. It does deal with some heavy issues, but it doesn't deal with them in particularly graphic form. Even the murder, if a murder happens on page, it's usually not that extreme. Yeah, I wouldn't push too hard, or I wouldn't think this doesn't push too hard. Now I don't know about Strange Houses. I can't speak to that one. The manga that I have read is fairly not super gory. It's kind of there's some blood, but it's nothing crazy. But yeah, if you are interested in Japanese fiction or Japanese mystery specifically, I would definitely check this one out. And I'm going to cut this video a little short. I'm playing with times on the videos a little bit because just want to find the right balance. And if if topic needs a little more time, needs a little more time. All right, guys. So I'm going to call it here. So if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. And if you want to see more stuff that I got coming, subscribe and hit that bell so you get notifications. Otherwise, love what you love. Enjoy what you're reading and watching. And have an amazing morning, afternoon, or evening. And I will catch you in the next one.